Hi everyone, welcome to DIY Ideas. So today I'm showing you how you can make a bag for your cake cover or cake box. So this is pretty cool if you want to bring a cake to work or school for yours or somebody else's birthday, for example, or for pretty much any other occasion. So in order to make sure that your cupcakes or your cake gets there alive and well, this is what you can do. As far as fabric goes, you're going to need cotton or any other fabric of your choosing, as long as it's not stretchy so that it holds its shape. This is important this time. And if yours is too thin, you can of course do multiple layers. So this time you'll need quite a bit of fabric, so that's why you see a lot of it here. Apart from that, we'll use some scissors, a safety pin, and some pins. So here's the plan for today. So like I said, you'll need a bit more fabric than what we usually use, and you'll need one of each of your inside fabric and again out of your outside fabric. So these parts, first the bottom, so one's out of the inside and one's out of the outside fabric, then the side here, so again 2 times, and then the handle, so the smallest part that we have for today's project on here. So these are just out of the one fabric, not both. So you can take your cake cover, cake box, and take your measures if you have something that's not the regular size. So just take the bottom and contour the circle. And that way you can calculate the circumference by using the 2 times number pi times r. So we are doing a bit of math this time, and the R I drew on here, so the radius, and you see the line here, so the half of the diameter, that's from one end to the other. So I did the prep already, and you can take this one I'm doing. So I just took the biggest cake cover that I had at home. If you want or have a smaller one, or you have a completely different size than the regular ones like this one, then you can of course adjust, but the pattern and the method is going to stay the same. It's just maybe the size that's going to vary. So I made a circle, and in my case the diameter is 42 centimeters. So just a line from one end to the other, and then halfway another line up. And you can repeat this as many times as you like until you have a full circle, or until you can draw a full circle. Or you can just draw this yourself. That's also another option. Fold a piece of paper in half and then just do it that way. Okay, so the handles in my case are 75 centimeters times 12 centimeters. So we need these 2 times, and you can make them longer if you want to wear it on your shoulder when you have it. Then you would do, I guess, about 100 centimeters. So 12 centimeters is pretty wide as it is. In the end, the handles in my case will be about 5 centimeters wide. So that's up to you. I calculated the side piece by finding the circumference of the circle. And when you do this yourself, make sure that you remember that we are sewing this, which means that we're going to have stitches that are going to take up some space. So the formula, the general formula is 2 times number pi times r. And before you do this, you do want to add 2 to 3 centimeters more for each side where the stitches are going to go. So when I did all of that, in my case, I got 148 centimeters and 25 centimeters is my height. If you want to do a double decor bag, you can of course just do the double size, but the regular cake cover will fit in here just fine. So if you don't have the length that you need, then you can of course take the halves and just stitch them as one. So make one piece out of 2 smaller ones. So always in the middle, in my case about 75 centimeters. And you can see here that I added 2 centimeters for the stitches since the 2 pieces do have a stitch in the middle then. So to summarize, you are going to need 2 times the side piece, so 148 centimeters times 25 centimeters, and 2 times the circle. Diameter is 42 centimeters, and then you would calculate about 2 centimeters more for the stitches, and then of course 2 times the handles, 75 centimeters times 12 centimeters. So I prepped all of those pieces and I'm taking the handle pieces first. So we're going to start with the one, then we're going to fold it pretty side on pretty side this way. This way the width should be folded in half. So you can pin it together or you can directly sew the open edges since we want a long tunnel-like piece. So I did both of my handles the same way, and now I'll take my safety pin to make the turning easier and faster, although I think with this size you can do it without it just fine, but I find the safety pin method to be the fastest. So what I did is I pinned through the one side of the fabric and pushed inside, and then I'll just keep pushing the safety pin through till I get to the other side. Make sure you don't rip any stitches in the process, so take your time. Okay, so this is done and now you have different options. So you can take each piece and align the stitch on the middle and then you can just iron over it and that way make it look super neat. I'll do it a bit differently today. So I'll do my stitch on the edge itself and that's another option what you can do. So we will again align nicely and go over that section right next to the edge to flatten it a bit. Here you can go around the corner and do the same on the other side. So it's best if you do a bit wider stitch. So on most sewing machines that should be number 4. So just over it so that it's neat in the end. So you should have something looking like this. I like it a lot for now, so it's a lot flatter and nicer this way. Okay, so now we can move this to the side and start with the main part. So I'll show you the steps on my outside fabric, but you'll do the same with the inside. So you should have the bottom doubled and the side doubled. And of course, we're gonna do the same thing we just did with the inside fabric. Okay, so let's take the side section. So if you have just one big piece, then you can fold it in half, pretty side on pretty side. It's a bit bigger, but I think you can still see what I'm doing. So close the open edge with a regular straight stitch. If you have two pieces, you need to do this with both ends, so just align them the same way and do both ends with a straight stitch, so left and right. Same with the inside fabric, but just make sure that you leave a little opening somewhere on the side. So start from the bottom, secure here, and then skip a little section, and then secure the stitch again when you continue it, so here, and then just go up again. So this way you're closing it into a loop shape, but you're still leaving an opening in the middle, so a little hole, so to speak, for turning it in the end. So you need that with just the inside. The outside fabric gets a full stitch all around all edges. So I straightened this, and on the left and right I did an extra stitch so that I have this as flat as possible. I think it looks a lot better this way, and I'm not doing it with the inside though because we still have the opening. So I'll show you. Okay, here we are. So I did separate the ends, but I didn't do the extra stitching. So the next step is going to be the same with the inside and outside. So we're connecting the bottom with the side piece. So one thing that's really important now, this time we definitely do want to pin before we start with the stitching. So you can take either side or any side. I recommend finding the stitch. There we go. And now we can just pin all around. It's important to check if your circle is round so that you don't mess anything up and it looks weird. So in case your side edge doesn't really align with the circle, then you can fix it really easily in advance. So I'm pinning beforehand so that I can adjust the side piece and if needed, make it a bit shorter so that it fits the circle. So this is a really cool trick to know when you're working with circle-shaped pieces. So I'll show you when I'm done, in case I do end up having to fix it a bit. So I pinned it and you can see in the end that I have this a little bit too big. So then I'll just take one pin out that is covering the stitch. Next one too, and then you can see here that we need to make this somewhat smaller to align. So no need to measure anything, you can just use that in order to figure out your desired width or your perfect width for your piece. Make sure it's straight there and it looks good. Let's pin there. And then we can stitch the side piece up one more time to make it a bit smaller. I'll cut the leftover bits off and iron over it again and do the extra stitching so that it looks super nice and neat in the end. So just make sure that your bottom aligns with the size of your side section, since you do want them having the same length and therefore the back will look great in the end. So now that you did this works perfectly now, and it's always easy to tell, so you can see if it looks pretty, it's done. So let's pin it back together. And then stitch here along the edges. Here we are now, so this is now together and we already have a back shape but without the handles now. So if you take the back side, you can see that I pushed the leftover fabric on the outside of the stitch. That way I'm getting a nice shape. So we just push it upwards and then we just stitch over it to keep it looking great. So that's optional, but I really do like the effect that it makes. Okay, now we're taking our handles and pinning it to our back so that they don't slip out when we do the inside fabric too. So you can take the stitch on the side piece and then find the other half. Okay, here is the stitch. So if you have two stitches, you should have the other one on the other side, but either way, just find the half and fold it in half one more time. So here is the one half and here is the other. So that's going to be the middle of each of your side. So just mark by cutting a tiny bit off. There we go. We have that mark and we always know where it is. When you unfold this, you can always see it right away. And now we can take our handles and do the same distance from the marked section on each side. So you can make it closer, then you have the longer handles in the end, or you can make them really spread wide apart and get a bit shorter ones. I think I'll do them somewhere in the middle. So about, I guess, 5 to 10 centimeters away from the mark. So I'm pinning this, you can measure, but I don't think that it has to be super precise, so that's optional this time. Make sure that your handles are not twisted in any weird way. And here we are. So now you can align the middles again. Then again, do the same for the other end of each handle with the other side of the side section. Make sure you only go through the one side and not both. So I did both of the handles already to keep them in place, so they can't slip this way as I work on the next part. Of course, you can do it later all at once. Now, next you can push your outside piece inside your inside piece, and we're gonna do it pretty side on pretty side, which means that the ugly side should be on the inside as far as the green fabric goes, or my inside fabric, and the outside fabric, so the colorful one, should be turned the right way around. So let's put it together. Take a look that you find the stitches and again align those. It'll make everything easier and also a lot neater in the end. Now we will again pin this, that way we can also see if the inside and outside piece match as far as size goes, and if not, we can fix it on the stitch. Now that we pinned the whole thing and made sure it's all aligned, the next step is to just stitch all around. And if you remember, we left here a little opening. So that means that we don't have to do any more openings here since we already have one. I'm almost done, so now we just gotta turn this the right way around. So now you can leave this as it is already or align the edges so that the stitch is straight and exactly on the very edge. And then you can just stitch over pretty much the whole thing to make it flatter, like our handles that you see here. So I close the opening by hand. You can do whichever kind of stitch you want, and then we are officially done. So I hope you guys like the end result and how it looks. Feel free to let me know what you think. So this is pretty big, and I'm always carrying some cakes or cupcakes, and I'm always scared that the lid will somehow separate from the bottom and the bottom will fall off. So I usually just carry the whole thing holding it from the bottom, but I think that this is a great alternative to that. So I hope you guys enjoyed the project. I hope you found it useful, and if you like the project, you can shoot us a thumbs up to let us know. If you'd like to see more from our project, you can also subscribe to our channel and that way stay updated. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye!